up, gentlemen? How you doing, New Year, guys. Everybody get what they want for Christmas?
No, we're still here.
Wow. I haven't got that release letter from the planning board yet. I said I haven't got that release letter from the planning board yet. All someone has to do is run, they'll get me out.
Alright, that's that. This is this. This one
You're not going anywhere. I'm not up again until 26.
Hey, James. How are you, sir? Barry? John?
Hi, Jeff.
Barry, James, and John, this is Dylan. She's going to be helping with planning, and zoning enforcement, and ZBA. Good, very good. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you, sir. Welcome aboard. Thank you. And Gail's been nice to her so far. So far.
Always nice. Are you ready, Bill? Are we all set, Bill?
I'm all set.
All right, let's open the meeting.
Muting myself and then putting the material.
Gonna open the meeting now. Please no talking in the background. First order of business is to approve the minutes for the meeting for 10/28 and 12/19.
Make a motion to approve the minutes for November 28th, 2022 as written.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
November.
That was, yeah.
That was November.
28th. Okay.
Need a motion for the other?
That was October, all right?
I wasn't here on that one.
Oh,
10/28.
See, that was in
I was absent.
PDF, and yet it had a
December 19th is Bill, John Vandersloot, and Damon.
All right, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes for 12/19/22.
do I have a second? Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye,
Abstain.
Abstain.
it passes. So both sets of minutes approved. On the next order of business, continuation of public hearing for 23 Cape Road. Just so everyone's aware, in case some of you are waiting for the meeting on 3537 Hastings, that is being continued. All the peer reviews are not completed, so we're still waiting for some information back. And they are responding back to those peer reviews also, so as soon as that is all sorted out, they'll probably be back in front of us.
Yeah, and Mr. Chair, there's also some litigation with DEP that they're waiting for.
That's on 147, right? That's not on...
No, that's Hastings.
Oh, that is Hastings?
Yep.
Okay. All right, so we're going to continue on with 23 Cape Road. Come on up. You could just announce yourselves.
Connor Downey with Blue Water Property Group LLC, the applicant.
Kevin Demers, the engineer from Deprete Engineering Associates.
All right, so I saw we had a couple peer reviews come back. I don't know if you're in a position to discuss them at this point.
We are in the position to discuss the civil engineering peer review, which we'll be going over tonight, and our responses there too. So I'll just give a few opening remarks, just in terms of where we stand on the project and some status updates. So good evening, Mr. Chairman and fellow members of the planning board. We are in front of you
For
tonight.
1 second.
Yeah, of course.
Jeff, do you have a copy of that with you,
I'm sorry, copy of what?
of your review?
I have one copy, my copy, that I've got all marked up.
Oh. Gail, did you not bring?
Not bad either.
the copy,
Actually, I'll tell you
Jeff?
what, Bill, yes, I do.
47 after that.
I didn't bring mine with me.
I will
I
give
don't
you
have
the,
that
you'll get our copy and the original.
Gail,
I was going to and I didn't.
I've got nothing on it here.
No, there's nothing in there.
All right, Jeff's got a copy for him.
Thank you, Jeff. You're welcome. You saved my.
How come Jimmy has a copy?
What? I don't have it.
He brought his paperwork.
Graves. Oh, that's for the other
This is-
project,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah, that's it, that's one for the.
All right. Thank you, Jeff.
You're welcome, Bill.
All right, go ahead.
Good to go? Okay.
Yep.
So we're in front of you tonight to continue our public hearing for the site plan and special permit application for a proposed 205,000 square foot warehouse building with associated improvements. As we just went over, we are in receipt of all the peer reviews for civil engineering, acoustics, and traffic. We are in a position to discuss the civil engineering, not quite in a position to discuss the traffic and the acoustics. Those are still in process, but have received them and reviewed them, so we're in the process of putting together response letters, et cetera. So a few other, before we get into the civil peer review and responses and that discussion, there were a few other items that required follow-up and, I guess, response from us outside of the peer reviews. So I just figured I'd give a list and just kind of status updates on each of the items. So the first of which was a request to provide the landscaping plan with proposed plantings. This was included in the initial plan submittal and included in the peer review as part of the peer review by Graves. Same thing with the lighting plan. There was a discussion that the lighting plan was to be peer reviewed as well, which it was. There was a request made to meet with Fire Chief Kessler to address any concerns related to the fire suppression system. I held a call with Chief Kessler shortly after that meeting, and I believe he followed up with an email to Chairman Ambrosino indicating that his concern had been addressed sufficiently at this juncture. We were to provide data on air pollution impacts. As such, we commissioned and provided a full report from Tech Environmental regarding these potential air pollution impacts. The conclusion was that the pollution impacts were to be very minor and well within inside of EPA and Massachusetts NAAQS standards. We're happy to have Tech Environmental come to a meeting in the future if you deem necessary to present that report. We were to review the Beach Street intersection on Cape Road. This has been completed and will be included in the response letter back to the traffic engineer and then discussed when we go over traffic comprehensively. Similar story with the review of the turning radii at Hartford and Cape intersection for trucks. We've done an initial analysis which has been provided to MDM along with a few potential plans that show solutions and potential upgrades to the intersection that will obviously be vetted by MDM, the peer reviewer, the DOT, and the town. This will also be addressed in the peer review responses. And then lastly, we were supposed to review if it was possible to add a raised berm or landscaping on the south side of the property, which unfortunately is not possible due to the existing topography. But we have evaluated extending the sound wall slightly to the east on the plan south to further buffer that area. So that'll be included in the acoustics discussion. Okay. And then lastly, since the last meeting, we did receive our final MEPA ENF certificate, deeming that there was no further EIR review required. So that is status update on all the follow-up items from last meeting, and I'll pause there for any questions relative to those items prior to kicking off the civil peer review.
Yeah, one question I had about the environmental review. I'm just wondering what Tech Environmental based their review upon. In other words, they don't know the use yet.
Right.
How are they?
It was based on the trip count, so the facility will only have electric served HVAC, so that doesn't produce any emissions, so it was only the truck impact for air pollution, so they based their projected air pollution impacts or potential air pollution impacts on the trips generated per the traffic impact report. Yep.
Depending upon the use that arrives there, we'll have to address it at that time. As far as any further environmental impact from the use itself. And that, Jack, that needs to be in the decision too, please.
Yeah, we talked about having, and I think I shared with Connor, a similar decision I had in Uxbridge about having, before the use starts, whatever use they have.
If in fact. it
That
gets
they
approved
come
by-
back, explain any deviation for what was permitted, and then you could assign any more.
Hold on, Jack. Excuse me, whoever that is, could you mute yourself, please?
So they could come back, and if you require any more peer review, you can ask for it before they can start the facility.
Okay. All right. All right, continue.
That's all that I have for those items, so I'll
Is there
kick it
any other
over.
questions for the board regarding that?
So what was the reason for the, you said on one side that they were not able to,
On the south side of the property, there was some discussion about could you put a berm there, I guess, in between where our property line would be and the solar field. And because of the way the topography drops off, so to speak, it's tough to be able to put a berm up without encroaching on the
The
south.
landscape and planning,
What's that?
arborvitae's or any,
We could do, what we had thought about doing was extending the sound wall and maybe do some,
that's
you know, depending on what kind of material that's made out of, you can put some kind of like ivy or other vegetation on the other side of the wall or something along those lines.
okay. I mean, that's,
because something has to be better than not possible.
yeah.
Right. And that's what we provided, to provide extra buffer, because I believe that was the reason for why we were supposed to look into it.
Yeah.
So, you know, that would be our proposal,
Okay.
to just extend the sound wall to buffer that area.
All right. Well,
Mr. Chair,
You'll
can
see,
I?
we'll see that on the plan.
Yes, yes.
I'm just going to say for the public, so we did receive a peer review from Civil, which Jeff is here, I'm sure he's going to describe that. We received a peer review from Traffic, which was fairly extensive
Yeah.
and complicated, in my opinion, that they're working on. We received a review on pollution, which we could have peer reviewed if you wish. And we received a peer review on sound, which I know they're working on, which is a little more complicated than I thought it would be.
does everybody understand what the peer reviewing is? Peer reviewing is, they do all their engineering. And probably we're one of the only towns that have begun this process around.
Is that question to the audience or just to?
Just
We're
to
explaining
the
it.
audience, we're explaining the position. And we're going out and we are hiring parties to represent the town of Mendon to review what their engineers have come up with. Most towns don't go through the process we're going. We're asking them to answer the questions of the engineers that we hire to oversee the project. So when we're talking about peer reviews, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about, yes, go ahead.
He had used some the gentleman had used some abbreviations. I wish he had used the full length of the names of the studies that he was talking about.
Which specifically?
Well, I don't remember the exact abbreviations, but you
Okay.
used,
As you're going forward.
like three
Sure.
letters, like,
Noted.
and I
I will do
don't know
that.
what you're talking about if I,
Well, that's why I kind of stopped and wanted to explain the peer review process in case people didn't understand what we were doing.
Mr. Chair, I can help a little bit. I think one of them was MEPA, which is the Massachusetts Environmental Protection Act. And it's a state permit that any large development must get, and they've now received that. I can't speak for the other ones, I can't remember them.
well, could he explain them or
That's up to the chair.
refer them myself? Because I don't understand.
Why don't you run down the list again, just so we
There,
can,
there are only a couple, so, Jack just explained what MEPA is. The MEPA form, or certificate that we received was the ENF certificate, which is Environmental Notification Form. The other, I think there are only two other abbreviations used, EPA, which is Environmental Protection Agency, and Massachusetts NAAQS standards, which stands for National Ambient Air Quality Standards. Of course.
Going forward, just please make sure you
Absolutely.
don't use the, So anyways, let's continue on. I just wanted to clarify that. If everyone could just hold their questions till we get through this part, and then I'll give the community an opportunity to speak.
Jack, do you mind if I?
Yeah, go right ahead.
Just an updated plan.
I was just giving them a bird's eye view. Oops. I guess I have to share this. Is that correct?
Yep, I got it.
Okay, good.
So this is just the updated plan. There was some revisions made as part of the peer review response that are included in this.
Hello, my name is Kevin Demers from Depreet Engineering. Apologize in advance for my voice. We had received peer review comments from Graves Engineering December 12th. We prepared responses and finalized on January 5th and sent a FedEx package, which was received per the notification this morning at Graves Engineering. For the most part, the comments consisted of plan and detail, annotation, clarifications of the intent. There were no issues relative to the stormwater management calculations. And I just want to touch upon a few highlights, and if there are any further questions we can review. We had updated the dimensional regulations table on the site plan to deduct the wetlands lot size provided, the wetlands from the lot size provided. The site still complies with the zoning requirement. The second item was it was commented on the office and warehouse uses as separate entities requiring different calculation ratios for parking. And we just clarify in the response that the warehouse is the primary use and the offices are an ancillary use for those already working in the warehouse. And this was previously vetted with the building official. We anticipate, as far as an actual count, approximately 140 employees. And obviously the current parking plan is for 206 total spaces, not including the truck loading spaces. So we're obviously well short of the warehouse ratio to begin with, and only provide the 206 spaces to comply with the zoning requirement. And the third highlight I wanted to bring up was there was a slight office area discrepancy raised in comment number 15. We found a need to update the northern office space to align with the architectural layout, and we've done that on the latest site plan.
All right. Jeff, was there anything that you wanted to add to that, or?
Nothing really to add. I would like to go into a little more detail for the benefit of the board, if I may. For the record, my name is Jeff Walsh. I'm with Graves Engineering. We are the civil engineering peer reviewer for the Mendon Planning Board. To begin with, Graves Engineering, we were tasked with reviewing the plans from a general civil engineering perspective for conformance with the engineering issues associated with the zoning bylaw, with the local stormwater regulations. We also reviewed the plans and hydrology computations for conformance with the Massachusetts Department of Environmental Protection stormwater standards. That includes reviewing the hydrology calculations to make sure we're comfortable with the methodology used, with the input data put into the mathematical model, and we take a look at the results to make sure, as reported in the stormwater report, there are no increases in peak rates of runoff and so on and so forth, Mr. Chairman. And we review for generally accepted engineering practices. When we got underway with this review, there was not a acoustic peer reviewer on board, and we were asked just to perform, if you would, a cursory look at the acoustics information. Having worked on a number of these types of facilities, I've gotten some experience with the sound walls that we may see from time to time and so on and so forth. And I just looked at that from a cursory standpoint, whereas the board now has its own acoustic peer reviewer. I'll step back from that. Nevertheless, Mr. Chairman, we issued our first review letter as reported this evening on December 12th. We had, most of the comments had to do with addressing a few minor pieces of information on the plans or and so forth, but there's four things I wanted to talk just briefly with the board. Yes, we did receive the engineering package from Dupree Engineering this morning. I had a little bit of time today to take a cursory look at the responses. And again, I had 4 issues that I was prepared to talk with the board about tonight. I can report that they've been addressed, at least on my cursory look at, they've been addressed to my satisfaction, but
What were those issues?
item number 2, number of parking spaces. I don't disagree with the response that this is, the office use within the building will be more so ancillary to the warehouse operation and not separate warehouse and separate office space. So I not only, reconsidered that, but also looked at the Institute of Traffic Engineers traffic generation information that's published. We have a copy of that, and the numbers proposed for this project here are favorable with respect to that Institute of Traffic Engineers information also. I can say in the Institute of Traffic Engineers, the ITE, for this type of land use code number 150, the average parking demand is 0.39 spaces per 1,000 square feet, whereas the project is required to have 1 space per 1,000 square feet. There were 31 studies representative in the statistical information. Of that, 29 of those were 250,000 square feet or less square footage. In other words, the data is comparable to this project of 206-ish thousand square feet. And again, the average demand was 0.39 spaces per 1,000. And the 85th percentile, that means 85% or less of the parking demand was 1.11 spaces per 1,000 square feet. So the 1.11 is a little over the zoning bylaw requirement of 1 space per 1,000 square feet, but considering the design engineer's response and another source of information, I'm comfortable with the proposed amount of parking for passenger vehicles. Knowing there's a traffic peer reviewer on board, I'd also defer any consideration of that issue to them if they're charged with reviewing that. Next item is number 7, estimate of earth import. I look at that requirement, it was not, the amount of earth wasn't recited in any of the documents before. And I look at that as, it gives the board an understanding of the amount of import or export of soil to or from a site, hence traffic trips and something like
What
that.
is that, what is the answer to that?
88,300 cubic yards of import.
Import.
Yep. So
How many trips is that?
at 26 cubic yards on a 10-wheeler, Mr. Chairman, it is about 3,400 loads coming into the site.
And across what period of time?
Time of construction, about approximately, from our experience, probably anywhere between 6 to 12 months.
That's full construction.
Full,
Right.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm talking about the
The
earth.
import would only be,
Oh,
would only
correct,
be
yeah.
4 to 6 weeks maximum.
Correct.
right, Mr. Chairman, if I may move on, or do we have more discussion on that? particular one?
Just to get an idea of that, so the same trucks that are passing through the town of Mendon will just be stopping in Mendon, that haul gravel through the town of Mendon every day. So, I mean, we're not adding any more trucks that are already in town. We're just they're not going to a different town, they're stopping in Mendon, during construction. Because if you drive down Bellingham Street, you drive down Hartford Ave, you drive down 140, all you do is see is trucks, 10-wheelers, trailer dumps.
I think,
traveling all over.
But they didn't,
I,
there you go. I live right there.
I think what Board Member Tenio is referring to is the fact that these people will be sourcing from the same local haulers that.
So what is this, half an hour?
Excuse me. You'll have an opportunity to speak later. The same haulers, the local haulers, will be the same ones hauling to this site. So whether they're doing another job or this job, it'd be the same haulers coming through town.
Coming from like Kimball or something? You said
Something,
Kimball?
yeah, more than likely.
Well, more than likely, or will they use Kimball? I think, do you know?
It's up to them. I mean, this board can't be worried about that. Please, hold your questions till after. I'll give everybody an opportunity to speak once we're through this.
Moving on to number 8, Mr. Chairman, just wanted to understand the limit of clearing around the perimeter of the site. The initial set of plans did show the limit of work, and based upon, aerial photography and my visit to the site, most of the site's been cleared, but there was some remaining trees around the perimeter of the site, more so down toward I believe it's the southwest, the back of the site, for lack of a better term, the lower elevations, and down toward where the residential properties are closer to the development area. And so the revised plans do show the limit of trees, the tree lines as they exist today. And one can now look at the limit of clearing and know where tree clearing is proposed. There was very little tree clearing proposed. And lastly, the last thing I want to point out was number 13. We were having trouble finding the proprietary stormwater treatment units that were talked about in the narrative. They were on both the original plans and the original set of plans as well as the revised plans. We just didn't pick up on them. It's an offline type of unit, not a problem. They're not uncommon. It's just that we didn't see them. This proprietary treatment unit, what it is used for is there's an existing drainage system at the site that conveys water down not only from the developed areas closer to Cape Road, but also down through the site and through the catch basins. Most of the drainage system within the site is being removed, and this proprietary treatment unit will pick up the flow from the upper developed projects, the part of the drainage system that's staying in put. It will be run through this proprietary treatment unit before it's discharged, and the water from there will go down to where it currently goes, which there's a receiving stream at the bottom of the site, for lack of a better term. Those were the things I wanted to discuss with the board, or at least bring to your attention, and in my opinion, it looks like those 4 items have been satisfactorily addressed.
So in your opinion, the civil engineering and the in adherence to the zoning bylaw, this project passes snuff?
Based on my review of this, in my opinion, yes, that is my opinion.
All right. Were you prepared for anything else this evening?
No, sir.
Do any other board members have any comments?
Not right now.
I'll be looking forward to the additional reviews. Once you've had a chance to respond to this traffic one, I'll be greatly appreciated. And we maybe have discussion on any resolutions, but at this point, I'll take any questions from the community.
You said the traffic one, was that done at
Yeah, there's one done, but they haven't had an opportunity to respond to it. They haven't had an opportunity to review it, so we have to give them time to look at it.
You guys hired an engineer
Yes,
to look at the traffic. I'm assuming it's the
Right.
four-way where the only set of lights are in Mendon, over there, that traffic review?
yeah. Well,
Gotta get her name,
the
Bill.
whole area. They've reviewed the entire area, including the intersection at Beach Street.
Gotta get her name and address.
Oh, yeah, Deb.
Debbie DiColola, 8th Street. So the traffic, because that's what I'm concerned, because I live on Leeds.
Yeah.
And as a resident over there with children, my children are older now, but just recently, I have on video, I was almost hit by an Amazon truck in that coming face forward, and that's happened numerous times. Are they they're gonna have to redo the whole intersection, right? Because there's no way we can get trucks in and out
Well,
on a daily
unfortunately,
basis.
there's a couple issues with that. We can look at a traffic study, we can do what we can to resolve it, but that road belongs to the state.
Okay.
It doesn't belong to the town of Mendon. So our control exists from what we could do to Bate Street or what we could do to Hartford Avenue. Doesn't consist of what we could do to 140. The state would have to be involved in any suggestion of a change at those intersections.
So for their development to go in, the warehouse lines, does the state get involved in with the traffic? They must have to contact the state, correct?
They- That's correct. And they'll be looking at that, I'm sure.
When does that meeting take?
What's that?
When does that meeting come into place? Because that's where I'm very concerned.
And I get it,
don't know what Mr.
I get it,
Tino's talking
Deb.
about, like the trucks going back and forth. That is not true.
Now, he's saying, what Mr. Tenio is saying that is, you're not necessarily adding a lot of vehicles, because a lot of them are already traveling through town. And if they use a local supplier, more than likely, they'll just be taking up jobs that may have gone somewhere else.
So you're talking just about development.
Yeah, just with the development, which is a 6-week, we're talking about a 6-week period.
So that I'm not concerned about, because that's short term. So that, I think everyone's okay, we can live with that. I'm assuming you would get cops to take care and make sure we're safe, our children are safe while driving in that full way. Because it's, as it is, you can't even take a left-hand turn, actually, most of the time. There's been numerous, like, altercations over there where people almost hit the Hopedale mark. It's crazy over there. So, but moving forward, when it's busy, like, all the trucks going back and forth, like, how are we gonna take care of that?
Well, you know, that's what the traffic study's for. You know, I think we have a concumbrance of things going on around that intersection. Some don't involve Mendon. This project is probably gonna be the least impactful on that intersection. The projects out of Hopedale are probably gonna be great. Excuse me. You're out of order. I'll ask you to leave if you yell out again.
I don't think he was out of order. He was.
He doesn't get to speak out until I call on you. Go ahead, continue. He interrupted another citizen of this town. Go ahead.
So Bill, what I would be concerned about, and I'm gonna say if most of us are live in that area, I think it's probably all of our concerns. Right now over there is a shit show, to be quite honest. And I have an 18-year-old now, she's an 18-year-old. But when my kids were little, I would make them go through Bellingham and go another way. I don't know what Mr. Tinio was talking about. We do not have traffic. I do see trucks now more so than ever on 8th Street, which should not be permitted, personally, an 18-wheeler. And they're gonna come up in through, what they're gonna do is they're gonna come in through Uxbridge, and they're gonna take a right onto Bellingham Road, and it's gonna be, you think it's bad at the four-way now? Look at all the accidents on 8th Street from 18-wheelers. I think a couple from 18-wheelers. 4 deaths on that street since I've lived there in the 20 years. It's not gonna be good, so.
Bill?
Yeah.
Just to help out, just to maybe give Deb a little input, Bellingham Street has weight restrictions over the bridges.
Who follows
So
that?
Any
Who's gonna monitor it?
running oversized or heavy equipment, or any gravel trucks should not be traveling on Bellingham Street
Okay.
if they are loaded with
Okay,
any
I live
material.
there, I probably can do like the case study, I live right on the corner where Bates,
I know.
Bellingham is.
I know you.
I see trucks, what's the weight limit? And maybe because you have 18-wheelers, you can tell me, what's the weight limit to go down there? Because that's violated on a daily basis. And I'll start taking pictures, I will stand down there on my day off on Wednesdays. Tell everyone not to drive down there on Wednesdays.
That's the town local law enforcement. but there's a 24-ton bridge there, if I'm not mistaken. So, any gravel truck should not be traveling on that road.
I'm not
But-
talking about
So
gravel
more than likely,
trucks.
they're gonna end up coming up Bellingham Street, Hartford Ave, the way that they travel every day, whether they're going to 495, or they're going to Hopedale, or they're going to, Mendon. I understand, I know where you live, I know what you're talking about, I'm there every day myself, so I see it every day.
But I think you're talking about doing the construction. I'm talking about when that warehouse goes in, and if they're gonna be warehousing Amazon products, is what I've heard. They're gonna be warehousing Amazon products, they're gonna go down Bellingham Road. Are you gonna have people that are employed from Mendon, working at this warehouse?
Well, we
Or are they
don't-
coming from all over the country?
Yeah, we're not sure it's gonna be, Amazon items. I don't know who you heard that from, because they're not even sure.
Everybody, that's the word on the street,
Well,
Bill.
it's not true.
That could be wrong.
It's not true. First of all, they haven't indicated to us, that type of business is like Final Destination, warehousing, which if they were to do that, they would have to let the town know, because it increases the traffic tenfold with the delivery vans going in and out.
What type of-
That isn't a likely issue.
What type of, who are they warehousing to?
It doesn't, at this point, we're just trying to get the building proposed. The use, they don't even have a use going in that building yet.
Well, then why are they
They
doing
would
it?
have to come back for,
As a community, why shouldn't
Yeah.
they know that?
that's up for us to approve at a later date when there is a use going in. Now, if we don't like the use, we don't have to approve the use later.
So they're putting a lot of work into it. So I just hope that it's not a done deal, that's all.
It's not a done deal. That's why we have peer reviews going on. That's why we hired all these people, at their expense, by the way. We hired all these people to represent the town of Mendon.
Save a lot of money, they want to. Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
When does the traffic peer review? When is that traffic?
Well, it's been completed. They're getting prepared to respond to it.
There'll be another meeting, so we get to come.
This is gonna be continued for a while. This is
Perfect.
gonna be a while before this is approved.
Thank you.
There is a process to these, things, and understand, the applicant has rights too. This isn't a situation where only the town has rights. We have a zoning bylaw, they're required to meet them. Before we can either approve or disapprove an application, we have to do a thorough review, and if there isn't anything strict for the town that would be a guidance to not approve this application, the town has to be responsible in its endeavor and would need to approve it if that's what the information indicates. If we can't, so it may get disapproved, but it may get approved, and people need to understand the process. This is just the planning board. They still have reviews by the Board of Health, Conservation, Building Department. There's a lot more they have to go through. The planning board just lays out the original site plan. And if they do what we ask and they meet what we need, we have no alternative, or we'll end up with another strip club lawsuit on a bylaw that was heavily written, and then we ended up getting our butt handed to us. We have the responsibility to do our due diligence in making sure we're protecting the community. And it should show you that being one of the only towns that do peer reviews on their applicants, it should give everybody the confidence that this planning board is for real when it says it's gonna review a plan. Yes, Jane?
Jane Lowell, 40 Melville Street. I was just wondering how far the whole thing is from the residential district? In other words, that has to include the parking, et cetera, et cetera.
I think it sits in the highway business district. I think the only residential really around it considerably is Talbot Farm.
But it has to be so many feet from the residential
Yeah.
district.
Do we know how far that is?
Do you know distance from the building to the residential area, or
No,
where?
not the
what
building,
is
it
that?
has to include the parking, et cetera, the whole thing has to be so many feet from the residential district.
I believe it's around 500 to 600 feet.
Yeah.
It's how it is.
Outside the 200-foot setback.
It is far enough away to abide by the bylaw.
Bylaws, Jeff would have picked up on it had it not been. This young lady's had her hand up for a while.
Yeah, I understand that the planning board, you know, you're gonna review the documents. Sorry,
Yeah.
Vicki Crisanti, I'm a Talbot Farm resident, the project abuts
Yeah.
the neighborhood. So our neighborhood consists of 31 homes. We contribute a significant amount of taxes. I just the numbers. It's, you know, 385,000.
The planning board.
I understand. No, that's not my question. But the planning board does have a responsibility to the residents in town, and I feel like you're not, you know, there are mitigations efforts that we're requesting, there's different opportunities that you have to
Push back and alter the project so that it doesn't impact
I mean,
the
there's-
residents.
There's a
That's
lot
what we're all
There's
asking.
a lot of things to consider in this, including fiscal from a town perspective. We're talking about $500,000 in taxes. For the
Same,
remainder of
that's what
town.
the residents in this neighborhood contribute to town. So we should have an equal say in what's happening to our
We have
backyard.
to say, but the applicant also has rights.
I understand that. I'm just suggesting that the building could be turned in a different direction so that all those trucks aren't facing our neighborhood. There's lots of, you know, we've asked about the berm. I guess that's not possible, but, you know, I just don't see a lot of effort.
Well, we're
on
doing the best we can with
mitigation.
it, and we're taking the recommendation of our peer reviewers, and, you know, we're trying to follow that, but, I mean, we do have a conscious effort to try and not, you know, trample on anybody's rights. You know, that's why we hire guys like Jeff, and Jeff's is thorough. We've had several engineers who've worked for the town of Mendon. Jeff's as good as they come. He works for many towns in the area, and Jeff knows what he's doing.
Bill, could you get names and addresses, please?
Yes, I will. Name and address, please.
John DeToma, 9 Talbot Farm Drive, Mendon.
Yeah.
On the plan that was shown up here, it looked different than the first plan. Is there any way you could tell us what that difference is?
I think he's talking about the rendering I had put up. That was an earlier plan.
There was 2 renderings.
Yeah, the
It
first
looks
one
like-
is non-existent now.
Yeah.
It's moved on to the last one, yeah.
The last one. So has there been changes made from the first one to the second one?
Yeah, the recommendations by our engineers.
Is that the
and by-
latest and greatest, the second one?
Yeah, the second one was the latest and greatest.
And it showed like a violet color in the back.
Can you bring it back up?
What is, because that didn't show it on the first plan.
Sorry, I'll bring it back up, but the violet in the plan was the stormwater management.
Yeah,
That'll
that's
be
what I figured.
subgrade below ground.
Does it show the new tree line that you said is going to be created when they cut the trees down?
I'm not certain it was shown on that particular plan. It's shown on a soil erosion sediment control plan and/or the grading plans.
It does not show it?
Not on that plan. It shows it on the sedimentation and erosion plan.
And is that the third plan you're talking about?
The plan is actually, how many pages?
Different sheets. 20-some-odd
It's
pages.
20-some-odd pages.
And does that show the new tree line?
Jeff, you want to?
Yes, it would.
Connor, do you have?
Is that
the-
available?
I don't have the
to
whole
look
plan
at?
set.
He's looking for it.
We don't have the entire plan set, but yes, it's shown on the sediment and erosion control
Jeff,
plan.
what's
It's,
your comment on as far as the tree line, once the project is completed?
There's not many trees on the site now. The majority of the trees are down in the low area of the site near the residential section. There's very limited tree clearing of what's remaining.
So it's pretty much
One tree is a
existing,
lot.
Well,
it's pretty much existing condition by the time they're done?
it's probably, I think it's venturing in some areas maybe 20 feet into what's remaining. There's a little bit of tree removal up at the northeast section as well. And again, you know, compared to a site that's fully treed, you're not going to see much of a difference. And the reason I brought this up in my review, one, it's required by the zoning bylaw, and two, of the remaining trees, the most of which are down in the lower areas, and I was concerned about how much tree removal might be occurring down there. And again, I'm not seeing very much. And
confused because My question is, to see where the new tree line is, and it was said minimal, I believe, and then 20 feet of additional trees is considerable, in my opinion. I actually drove down the road and was able today, I know the owner's here, there was no signs, no trespassing, so.
You can go anytime.
I can go anytime. He's a nice guy. I know him all the time. I'm always buying my lottery tickets out of his store, so. I could see the house. I could see the house, which is my neighbor's house now, through the woods. If you're taking 20 feet more trees, that's considerable. And if you are taking the 20 trees, is there any way we can somehow keep those trees?
Well, they're putting up a wall. They're putting up ivy, I think. He claimed we can add that to the landscape plan. They will try to shade it as much as they could so you don't notice the wall, correct?
Correct. If helpful, we can present a plan next time that shows exactly what the tree line will look like before and
Sure.
after, and what the
That'd be great.
alteration
You said
is.
that the closest point from the parking lot to the residential is 500 feet?
Plus or minus, I believe. We can come back with an exact measurement, but
So
that's
if
about
you-
accurate.
If you could, on the next meeting, if
Sure.
you could have the exact dimensions and what the 20 feet versus the 500 feet is going to look like, so that, just have it shaded, so that everyone can see where you're protruding in, into the view of the house.
It is my understanding from driving down the road that
I've got to move on to some other people with questions.
this is very important, is the fact that.
And he's going to provide at the next meeting.
I'd like to make another point, if you don't
All right,
mind.
go ahead.
Okay?
I usually only allow one question because other people in the
It's still
community
on the
need to
same
speak.
question, it has to do with the trees which are
ahead.
preventing light, so it's all the same question.
Go ahead.
Okay? No one's mentioned the fact that it's a higher elevation towards the main road than down by the rear lot, or say side lot, however you want to word. So that a car or truck's lights are gonna be much higher than that fence, that, whatever you want to call it, barrier. It's gonna be much higher. It's gonna be going right over that. The lights are gonna be going over it. I guarantee it.
Well, there's nothing we can do to prevent that. I mean, that property.
Well, you can. There is something you can do to prevent that. Excuse me, but there is.
And what is that?
Have a higher fence, have more trees, a different route so that the lights don't go directly into the that area. Yeah, there are things you could do.
I don't think some of those, all those things are feasible, but.
Well, how do you know? We're hiring experts. I'm not an expert. That's why we're hiring an expert. I'd like to hear from the experts if there's something more that we can do to prevent that light from hitting the neighbors.
Jack, can you?
I'd suggest to ask the applicant first, show us your data, show us a rendering, show us what impact as designed, not as is now, because you're changing elevations, and what your potential truck lighting will be. And if indeed it is above the wall and potentially shining, what other mitigation efforts you can make.
Sure.
And then we can have Jeff take a look at that.
Jeff, do you have any history of how far the impedance of light would travel? Just
No,
before we.
it's gonna, the concerns I have with lighting, whether it's from a vehicle headlight or from a light post or wall pack light, is looking right at the bulb. That light travels quite a bit, and, lighting levels as far as foot candles of illumination on the ground surface aside, one would see the bulb. In listening to the comments raised by the gentleman in the audience, I understood the concern to be truck headlights from the maneuvering area in the back of the building projecting out toward the residential area. And the sound barrier, I'm trying to look at the plans to make sure I recall
I
where the
think he's
sound barrier is
talking
going.
about trucks coming down the road
Right.
from a high elevation,
Understood, understood.
which would probably be 700-800 feet away.
The light would be seen, the question becomes, would it illuminate a dwelling? I'm not sure. Would the light bulb be seen from the dwelling back up to the area? Probably, unless there were an obstruction. What I was trying to figure out is the sound wall that goes around the area. It goes not only around the maneuver area in the back, but up the side driveway where the trucks will be coming down. And the wall goes to the ground level and is 6 feet high. I don't remember the exact height of a headlight, but it's somewhere around the 3-foot range. And it's got about a 4-degree angle projecting up in low beam. My point is, the projected light from the truck going down would likely shine upon the sound wall barrier. That's what I was trying to look through the plans here real quickly.
How tall is the building, 34
30,
feet?
35 feet.
35 feet. So coming down the hill would probably, the lighting would run into the building itself.
I'm not a land surveyor either, so.
Right.
I'm just saying from my gut feeling.
What's the likeliness of the lighting coming down the driveway, running into the building?
The lighting from a vehicle,
Yeah.
it's running parallel to the side of the building, so the building wouldn't
No,
be in
from
the
the
way.
street, coming down in the first row.
The entrance.
Oh, okay. Oh, it's,
It would most likely be blocked by the building itself.
if we're talking about the street before a vehicle gets to the building, bear with me. That street aims right at the building, right at the middle of the building.
Yeah, so coming into the complex, that building, that lighting would be blocked by the building.
Well, again, you're not an expert on
No, that's why I just asked him.
And who's him?
He's our civil engineer.
He's a civil engineer. He's not an illumination engineer.
Bill, you got 6 people up here with you.
Yeah, you know what?
Illumination engineer?
Mr. Chairman, I'm talking about geometry of light. Now, if the question is, a vehicle coming down Witten Street, where are the light's gonna project? They're gonna project onto the building. What I was talking about a minute ago with the sound barrier is once a vehicle gets to the end of Witten Street and starts maneuvering around the back of the building, at that point, the vehicles, of course, are getting closer to where the residences are. Now I'm looking at the projecting of that light because that vehicle, those vehicles' headlights are not blocked by the building. They're gonna be blocked by any other obstruction such as vegetation, hence what we talked about earlier,
Sound barrier.
and the sound barrier. And
how
to
tall
Jack's
is that
point,
sound
to
barrier?
Jack's point, to give a better understanding of this, it would be helpful if maybe there were some kind of cross-section prepared by the applicant's team.
Yeah, I think they've agreed to.
Illumination engineer rather than the civil engineer?
I don't think we're worried about the foot candles,
Let's
Mr.
get,
Chairman.
in my opinion, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, let's go,
Get the
allow us to get
rendering
the
and see what
cross-section,
we got.
we'll look at it, and they'll propose it. If we think it needs further, scrutiny, we'll send it out there for further scrutiny. Well, you haven't seen the cross-section, how can you say
I
that?
am not an illumination engineer.
That's right, that's why we need
I
the,
don't want a civil engineer.
all right, we'll take it under advisement. We have people with their hand up, Dan?
Yeah, I think Brendan had his hand up first under Teams, and then Connor, can you just end your share again?
Yeah.
If you don't mind?
There he is.
Are you going to me?
Yeah.
Yep.
Sorry. Oh, sorry. Brendan Chanel, 16 Washington Street. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a quick comment, something that I found personally really helpful on some other projects was the creation of an online shared drive so that abutters and citizens and everyone else could view the documents in advance to ask questions. Just wondering if something like that would be possible for this project as well.
Yeah, I believe that if it hasn't already been created, there is going to be a document site
We'll do a Dropbox.
They're doing it, yeah,
Or
Dropbox.
a Google Doc, shared drive, Brendan, as soon as, maybe tomorrow.
Sure. Within this week.
Perfect, thank you very much.
And in that, if I may, Mr. Chair, will be all the peer reviews, all the plans. Well, we don't have second
right.
reviews yet, but you get the drift.
Got a young lady right here.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Brendan.
Hi, Christine, 14 Talbot Farm Drive. We're in a butter. The length of our house will directly face the 33 dock slips, living room, kitchen, patio, yard, all of it. So one of our biggest concerns is sound abatement. And I've heard the wall mentioned numerous times, but when I look through the documents that are available to me online, I don't see any plans for the wall. So I'm curious about the length of it, the height of it, and also how far would it be from our property line? Where would that start?
I think they're gonna do that at the next one. You don't have that yet, the information as far as how far it is from the Talbot Farm.
Not yet, but we'll bring it to the acoustics meeting. As currently shown in the plans, the wall is 12 feet tall and 755 feet long. So it wraps the entirety of the truck court. But we'll come back with an understanding of exactly how far that is from the residential areas.
And I'll add, our peer reviewer, acoustic peer reviewer, came up with other concerns, other issues, and other suggestions that they haven't responded to yet.
For next time.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Excuse me. We have the chief MC.
Yeah.
So Eric Hodge, 3 8th Street. Thanks. No worries. So I'm not going to beat on the point around the acoustic wall, but I am curious, since the applicant had mentioned that it was going to be extended to the southern side of the property, if you had, updated plans for that, appreciate seeing that at some point. Since we're on the topic of sound, I was just reviewing the performance criteria in the bylaws under Article 4, Section 2J1. So one of the things that's noted is no noise below such level, which is referenced above as being the average street and traffic noise level, shall be objectionable with respect to intermittence, beat, frequency, or shrillness. To me, that directly speaks to truck backup noises and whatnot. And I'm curious if we will be following this criteria for quantifying whether the acoustic wall fully abates that noise. I know that during the initial sound study, we talked about that, according to mass regulations or whatnot, it couldn't be, I believe, 10 decibels above ambient. Our local bylaw seems to be more stringent than that. Could you comment on that, please?
As far as it being more, I think that allows for interpretation, Eric. When we write these bylaws, it's in the gist of what the normal surroundings would be in a particular area. Each area is different. If it's cast in strictly in a residential area, those ambient noises would be different than if it was on Route 16 or Route 140. I mean, that's just realistic. I mean, towns have to have the ability to operate, to, have commercial districts, have residential districts, and, when we write the bylaws, it's all in that intent. And that's what it boils down to when bylaws are written. It's intent. And that's, if we do a highway business district, our intent would be our expectation of noise levels. Now, we're going to do everything we can to stop it from emitting into the residential areas surrounding it. But we aren't foolish enough to think that there aren't going to be any noises emitted from a commercial. It could happen at the Muffin House if a delivery truck pulls behind the building. It's just the nature of with the classification of commercial business. So in all intents and purposes, that piece of any bylaw is under interpretation. Yes, Jane?
Actually, one of the job of the planning board is to enforce the bylaws. It says right there. And that does not mean interpret the bylaws, it means enforce them. So-
That's our intention,
And if the
Jane, but
bylaw
it's not
says.
specific, though.
It's not specific?
It's not specific.
Ah.
If-
All right,
if
well,
in
I
fact-
know that our bylaws can be stricter than the state's, but not less strict. I do know that.
Right.
Anyway, all right.
Mr. Chair, I'm just going to say, this whole notion of sound, I'm not an expert. I've dealt with it many, many times, many towns. And I did not know the acoustic engineer that we hired. I've never met him before. But let me just say, and you'll get the report, it'll be posted tomorrow. It's very, very stringent and very thorough. And I think the applicant can agree that it's well beyond what you were anticipating. I don't know what their answers are going to be, but I'm curious more than anything.
And I think that's where we're at now, is that we need to let our peer reviews do their job and require the applicant to respond. I mean, that's what it boils down to. I think we're getting a little ahead of ourselves.
Got a lot of hands up, Bill.
What's that?
A lot of hands up.
Yeah. Ann? Mazar?
Hi, Ann Mazar, 50 Pleasant Street. I had a question that it's hard for me to see the plan from here, but in the parking lot, every 15 spaces should, well, I'm concerned that the area was clear cut originally, maybe not by this current owner, but it used to be trees that absorbed a lot of water, and so I'm concerned about drainage, erosion, runoff, and all of that. So in the parking lot, in our bylaws, one of the things that's required is every 15 spaces has to have a shade tree. And in parking lots with over 75 spaces, there should be vegetative buffers. And so I was wondering if that was included in this plan.
As far as I know, we required that the
Yes, that's
Impact
my
development was being used.
That's my understanding per the landscape plans that we list the bylaws and abide by those requirements.
Yep.
Okay, so the landscape plan will be online tomorrow also?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Just one question, which may clear up some things for the audience. Is there any possibility that the building could be shifted so that the truck doors are on the 140 side versus the back side?
The topography wouldn't allow for it. You'd have to basically bring in probably 5 times the amount of fill to bring up the whole site to flip the building the way that it lays out. So we looked at that originally, and it just wouldn't work from an engineering standpoint.
Just so that the people understand that you have taken that.
Yes.
And that you're taking that seriously, that, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. And I'm not an expert, but I'm sure that, Jeff can also comment on that, at least the people know that, we would, and the applicant would be trying to make the best opportunity for the public as well as for the applicant.
To that point, Mr. Chairman, Jim's point and the applicant's response of Phil, the truck maneuvering area is 4 feet lower than the loading docks. Roughly, okay, they're 4 feet lower. The loading docks are the finished floor of the building. The finished floor of the building is about the same elevation as vehicle parking. So to take the facility as is drawn and rotate it 180 degrees doesn't just simply work, because now the loading docks, the terrain is such that it's dropping down from east to west. They've configured the layout so that the building is east of the lower loading docks, and to turn it around, it goes against the topography. One can engineer it, but it's a lot more filled, raising the building up, raising the parking up on the west side nearer the residences even more. That's a more detailed explanation of why the applicant responded it would mean more fill.
Bill?
Yes.
I guess we have a peer review for the acoustics coming, right?
He's doing, yes.
Okay, so before we try to redesign the building, you know, I think that these people with these 12-foot high walls and sound barriers, and, you know, 700 feet of it, and maybe even more, we should probably get an answer from the peer review on how that's gonna work, which might help these residents feel a little bit better about what's going on there. And maybe it's gonna keep the backup alarm, it's gonna keep all the lighting, the sound. You know, if we keep 95% of it out of the residential area, we might be doing something good just by dealing with what we already have designed, I guess is what I'm trying to get at.
All right, we have, I believe that's Ellen McKay.
Hi, yes, Ellen McKay, 2 Millbrook Drive, thank you. I'm just gonna go back to lighting for just 1 second, not truck lighting, but the lamp posts or light, post lighting, if you will. Do you have any way of knowing on the plans where the posts are going to be, how many there will be, what their brightness will be? Do you have any means of restricting posts they put in this warehouse area in the parking lot? And do you have any way of restricting their height? Although my neighborhood is not abutting this property and this plan, I already have bright skies every single time there's a soccer game at the nearby soccer fields because of how tall and bright those lights are.
Want to answer that, or you want me to, I mean, there is a lighting plan.
We have-
And we do, you know, the town of Mendon has some regulations regarding lighting, being down lighting and you know, screening and stuff like that, but.
Yeah, I would add, exactly, there is, we're proposing down lighting for the entire parking area. You know, this isn't something we're trying to illuminate like the soccer fields. It won't, you know, we're not trying to illuminate to that extent. The lumens, as shown on the lighting plan, we won't be bleeding, you know, bleeding lumens into the neighboring lots.
Mr. Chairman,
Did I answer your question now? Oh,
I just want to make it clear to the person who asked the question that, yes, the plans do show specific locations for all the light posts. And there was what's called a photometrics plan or a lighting plan that mathematically models how much illumination would be on the ground surface from that lighting layout shown on the plans. And that was also submitted in the plan set.
Yeah, for the most part, that did answer my question, except for the part directed at the planning board yourselves. Just, my question is, do you have the ability to restrict how many light posts they put? Do you have the ability to restrict their height, etc.?
yes, of course. I mean, you know, the lighting plan, when reviewed, should take all that into consideration. Jeff, did you review that specifically, or?
Yes, I specifically reviewed the photometrics plan to make sure that the light locations were consistent with other information in the plan set. and I looked at the lighting levels at the perimeter of the property, and I didn't have any issues with the.
And they're all
the
down lighting?
Nowadays, everybody's doing down lighting, so yeah. I don't remember what the height of the poles were, but I wouldn't expect the poles to be anywhere near the height of the lights at the soccer field. In a project like this, we're typically seeing 20, 25 feet, something like that, for the lighting pole height, but I don't remember if they went a little taller with this or not.
Yeah, I believe they're around 20 feet, was
So
that
the
right?
lights are 20 feet, and obviously they're not gonna be illuminated like the lights at the soccer field. In all intents and purposes, I think it would be lighting you'd see in most parking lots, Ellen.
Okay, thank you. If you'll allow, I just have one other, I know you try to restrict to one question, but this is just a little bit more of a clarification from an earlier comment that you had made regarding not knowing what type of business is going to be run out of this warehouse when somebody alluded to Amazon. So if we don't know that it is in fact going to be an Amazon warehouse, or when is that actually going to be determined? Before or after they build the warehouse?
Well,
And when would it be something that you can fully control?
They're two entirely different set of circumstances. One is actually the application of building the building, okay? And then, once the building's erected and the site is ready, and they decide who they're gonna lease the property to, they have to come for a use permit. And then the board gets to look at what the use is. And if the board don't like the use doesn't go in.
Okay, thank you for the clarification.
No problem.
Next up.
Not sure who this is, but the M.
Yeah, that was me, Ellen McKay.
Yeah, JB, Jason Braga?
I guess it's a good segue. Jason Braga, I'm the Vice President of NEFC, the soccer field right next door. So just a quick question. Has there been any consideration for where the trucks are going to be idling, where they're going to be waiting for their loads? I mean, we own another site in Northborough right next to Amazon, FedEx, and an AP pile. And because of our off hours of nighttime and weekends, truckers have used our parking lots as rest stops and waiting for their loads and so forth like that. And it's caused a strain on kind of local police, as we're calling to get the enforcement of truckers not parking in business lots and so forth like that. So has there been a consideration to kind of mitigate that with either planning for idling spots on your property or contacting the local businesses that might be affected, whether or not it's a pizza shop or a business like ours who has 200 parking spots that are sitting idle during the day and so forth like that?
Sure.
You guys have a gate on your place, don't you?
Correct, that doesn't stop some of them.
How can they get in there?
Yeah, some of them will drive over the grass. I mean, I'll show you our Northborough site, where they'll drive over the.
This is the Mendon site though, and you have stone walls and gates.
Correct, only, yeah, but we don't have stone walls now. We have a few stones on one side, but it's more of creating that, or like just contacting and kind of putting something in place, policies.
Yeah, I don't think they'd be able to get through if the gates were closed.
That hasn't stopped people before. That's all I'm saying. It's inside of the far side, they'll drive over the grass. I've driven over the grass before.
All right.
So that's just something to consider.
I think he has an answer for us anyway.
I do, yeah. There are 20 trailer parking stalls on the site. And generally speaking, all of the dock positions in the back of the building to the west aren't all in use at the same time. It's extremely rare. So trucks would be able to wait there, if you will, while they're loading, unloading. Otherwise, we're happy to condition around, if this gets approved, trucks only being able to idle on our site.
Yeah, that's fine. It's just
Yep.
It's good. Appreciate it.
If anybody here?
How would the town enforce the,
Name and address, please.
sorry.
Name and address.
It's Bruce Howell, 5 Joseph Road. How would the town enforce Massachusetts 5-minute anti-idling law? How is that going to be monitored not only now as the
You'd have
project
to
may...
you'd have to talk to public safety about that. I mean, I can't answer that question. I mean, we can make it, we can put it in the decision that they can't idle for long periods of time, but the planning board can't police that. That's public safety.
Okay, will they be having a meeting where we could discuss that? Would you have any?
You'd have to
No?
contact them. And like I said, there are a lot of different boards that are going to be dealing with this project.
Right.
We don't control all them. We control what the planning board does. So we, it's
Yep.
like when the Board of Health gets involved.
Yep, no, I understand.
You
I
know,
understand. And if I may, just one other brief comment. Earlier, there was a discussion about roughly 3,400 loads of material coming in. And I would just say that that's in addition to anything that's currently happening. The fact that they may travel on the same route is really basically somewhat irrelevant. It's the fact that 3,400 new trips are being created. That's, I think that's what I'm getting at. It's the fact that they may go over the same route doesn't really matter. It's 3,400 trips that weren't there, plus the clanging and banging of the tailgates as they come down. That would seem to me to be kind of a persistent nuisance noise.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, I mean, that's part of a short-term construction site, we're talking 4 to 6 weeks of it. I mean, that's.
Well, I mean, should someone be subjected to 4 to 6 weeks of listening to trucks come in and their tailgates banging, roughly maybe an average of 3 bangs a time, come down?
I'm not sure I could say that about any development, including when they built Talbot Farms. Were your neighbors happy that they had equipment running all day, tearing in a road to build houses? This happens with every project. I mean, some people, this is gonna happen when you live in a community.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
when I
fine.
grew up here.
I understand
When
that.
I grew up here, there were 1,800 people here.
Yep.
Okay? Through a breakthrough through the 90s and the 2000s, all of a sudden this place went from probably 300 homes to 2,000. And everyone who had lived here that entire time sat and watched that. And did we always agree with when Vincent Road went in, or King Philip Path, or, there were a lot of people who lived here a long time, and all that building wasn't here. But you know what? We grew to appreciate it. We grew to appreciate everybody's opinion. And, it didn't become an aggravation for us. Our community grew, and it grew well. And that's all we're looking to do, is continually do what the best for Mendon is. And doing commercial building in this town is really a necessity. The town needs tax revenue that doesn't impact schools, and this is a good opportunity for that. Now, it may be a short-term issue with the construction that's going on to you people in Talbot Farms, and believe me, I greatly appreciate it. I understand what you're going through. There's several other people who have bought in developments, and as they're being constructed, their home was built, but yet the rest of the subdivision continued. Well, they had to live with that construction for a while. And that's what this is, just another piece of the community being built. And you know what? Hopefully, we're making good decisions for the town of Mendon.
Well, I guess that's the debate.
That is a debate, and that's why I, as the first chair of a board that has hired peer reviewers on all aspects of development going on in this town, have shown that this planning board is looking out for the best interest of the town. It's probably the first planning board that has, because I've looked back at decisions prior to this board, and this town wasn't well represented. In the one particular eyesore is that we now have an adult entertainment property being built. Bad decisions all the way around.
Hi, Bill. I'm going to talk about infrastructure again.
Sure.
I know that you said you're looking for the best decision for the community, right? And I
Correct.
think it's great. I think commercial is wonderful if it's in the right spot. If we have the infrastructure built for it, but until Debbie from 36 Bates Street. And I just think that that's something that really has to be addressed. That area right now, without a warehouse that size, is already a mess.
And
And it's a problem, and I bet you if the police were here, they could give us the statistics on
And maybe through
accidents.
this, Deb, we get the state to take a look at some of these
But
intersections.
is that their job, or is that our job as the town?
I'm sure, depending upon what comes from the traffic analysis, that's gonna be their job.
Okay,
Because it may be the difference of them being approved and not being approved,
okay,
depending upon what the results of that traffic assessment are.
okay. Okay. And also, I do have another question. Are they going to be hiring within the town? Does it benefit Mendon? In, like, our community? Do
Well,
they
I will
hire
tell you, and
local?
I say this every single time one of these type of applications come into the town of Mendon. I say, as we add jobs to the town of Mendon, and people can criticize what has gone on in the town of Mendon, but I bet I'll tell you, I know many people who are now employed right within the confines of Mendon because of development that has gone on here the last 20 years. I myself employ an office full of people, most who are either from Mendon or directly surrounding Mendon.
And that's good news.
And that's exactly.
For everybody.
That's exactly what we're trying to bring to Mendon.
Still got hands up.
Yes. I'm trying to share.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Evening, Mr. Chair, members of the board. AJ Charbonneau, Talbot Farm 14. The whole conversation you just had was a good segue to my question, and it's really two parts. The master plan, what is it for Mendon? There's been a lot of reference to it in meetings like this, in other committees. There's been a survey. So first question is, when will that plan be concluded or designed? And then the second question following it is, how does this project directly support what the survey has already asked of its residents?
I think if we were to look at the first of all, the master plan should be done by the annual meeting. We are on course to finish that. Several years of surveys. I mean, this last one wasn't the only survey that was done. There have been 3 done over the course of the last 6 or 7 years. And they all reflect the same thing. People want to allow for commercial growth, but trying to maintain the rural community that Mendon is. I always say this, growth is going to come. There is no way of stopping it. Applicants have rights also. Property owners have rights. Whether it ends up being this commercial building or a 100-unit 40B project. The 40B project, I will tell you, is what we would like the least, because traffic will double over what they're saying is going to come out of there now. In a 40B project, if people aren't aware, is a low-income project that the town zoning book goes out the window. The state pretty much comes in and tells you they're being built everywhere. I mean, towns like Sudbury, Wayland, they're being forced to build these 150, 200-unit developments. Upton is on the brink of having to build one now. That's how close they're getting to us. And the state won't back you up. They want these type of developments being built. Those will come to Mendon if we don't act proactively to do what's the best for Mendon. And some of these projects, you guys look at them like they're not good for they're better than the alternative. I always tell people, be careful what you wish for. And that's what we're trying to do as a planning board. Trying to represent Mendon in a way that what goes there is better than what the alternative is. So, and that's all consideration for everybody when these applications come in. Is not, something is gonna get built on that property, I guarantee that. I mean, something that's gonna meet our zoning, we're gonna have little to combat it with. Similar to ending up in court over adult entertainment. We could end up in court over something else and eventually get our butt handed to us
Again.
And, does that answer your question? No?
It does. No, I appreciate it.
Excuse me,
Thanks.
Mr. Chairman, we keep going to the same people. We got people.
Yeah,
we got
I'm
people on board.
gonna jump to them in 1 second.
So, I wanted to get recognized now because my question's relevant to this line of topic. So, with respect to, overall planning and whatnot, just referencing again that the performance criteria in Article 4, Section 402J, this one's number 9, proposed development shall, not a may, be related harmoniously to the natural landscape and terrain, the surrounding townscape, and to the use, scale, and sitting of existing structures in the vicinity. So with respect to even just scale, right, this is larger by at least 5 times than any of the car dealerships in terms of square footage.
I don't know if it's 5 times, but we can get those calculations.
I believe it's fairly close. I researched it for a prior matter before the board. I'm curious to hear the board's perspective with how this fits with the surrounding fit and finish, keeping in mind that it abuts the rural residential district as well.
Well, I think this was the intention of at least the intention of the bylaw review committee and the board at the time that we proposed this section of town as a highway business district. And so I think if you're looking at scale and those, I think that was our intent for scale. And now, does it fit or suit what's there now? Maybe only no, because no one's decided to build that yet. But maybe it becomes that. I mean, that's why it's on special permit.
But the bylaw says existing structures.
Yeah.
Existing townscape.
Well, there is existing town scale. I mean, does it have to be one individual building, or does the fact that a dealership has 3 extremely large buildings within 600 feet? Does that?
But that's not this area of
So if they took that
town,
building
like-
and cut it into 3, you'd be okay?
I guess my point being is that in that section of town, I think the largest, like up by, 140, the largest warehouse building, and I apologize, I don't remember the exact square footages, but it's.
How big is Copart? I don't know, I'll have to.
I want to say everything in there is 30,000 square feet or less at the moment. So this is, 9 times larger, which doesn't seem to be in this, similar size and
So the-
capacity as
the car
existing
dealerships
structures.
are 70,000 square feet.
But these car dealerships are not on
I'm just
140.
giving you an idea of the size of the building. That's what the car dealerships are, 70,000 square feet.
And there's 4 of them, not 3.
Yes. Yes.
All right, let's go to the next question, though. We'll be here until midnight.
Yeah, let's, this will all be addressed, so. KS?
Hi, Kathy Schofield, 135 Blackstone Street, Mendon. I just wanted to touch back to what Mr. Court had brought up in terms of the difficulty of flipping that building around. And I just believe that, and I think a lot of people would agree, that you would solve a lot of issues with this building if you were to consider turning the bays towards the commercial area of that section of town. you would reduce lighting issues, noise issues. I mean, and it seems to me that it would be in the best interest of the company that's proposing this to try to work with the community and resolve those issues instead of going through gymnastics by considering hiring an engineer. I'm sure it can be done to turn that around and make it more desirable for everyone. I mean, I think we all agree we need the business. I hope that the planning board understands, you know, what the criteria are for the people who live in this community about, you know, creating a good environment, not in oversized buildings and monstrosities that end up coming in. We can still choose, you know, we can have growth and choose at the same time and set those parameters. And that's all.
Thank you, Kathy. KM. How much higher would the building have to be to turn?
Well, I don't want to throw a number out off the top of my head, but we can take a look at it and report back significantly.
Okay.
Hey, Bill?
Yes.
So if they turned the building to the side and put the trucks going towards the other residential property, or if they turned it to the other way and turned it to the other residential property?
No, I think they were talking about turning it 180 with the doors facing 140.
With the front of the building in the woods?
Basically.
Yeah.
Okay,
Because that's what's better for the town.
All right, let's move on.
KS, actually KM, please. Hello?
she's muted.
KM, you're muted. Anyone, any way to?
Next.
All right, Lynn?
I'm sorry, this is KM, but I didn't have my hand up.
Oh, all right. All right, we'll move on to Lynn.
Hi, Lynn Steele, 15 Talbot. My question is, does the current traffic study take into account the additional 1,000+ trips that will be happening due to the Hopedale warehouse?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Thanks.
T-Lo.
Hi, I'm just curious, when we talk
Address
about, when we talk about,
Oh, can you say your name and address, Trish?
oh, so sorry, Tisha Lowe, 23 Abbott Hill Road, Mendon. So, when we talk about the worst case scenario being the affordable housing units, I think you said something like 150 up units, did you say that?
No, I said it potentially could be up to 100 units on that property, I would assume.
Up to 100.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I'm just
it was-
throwing a number off the top of my head, I really couldn't tell you how big it is. But if it's
So
considered
security-
200,000 square foot building, I would say it's gonna be pretty intensive if it was a 40B project.
The units they just built in Bellingham, there's 4 buildings, there's 50 units a building. and
Yeah,
properties.
yeah, and
okay.
so.
So
Dan,
my question,
go
my
ahead.
question is, does anybody have any idea of, you know, how likely is the state to do that in an area that doesn't have town water?
Well, it isn't the state, it isn't the state that would be doing it, obviously it'd be a private developer. And, you know, it can, they've already granted water access.
Hopedale.
The Hopedale's already granted water access, so, I mean.
Oh, I didn't know that.
But
And then,
regardless, it could still, you know, a sizable unit could be, you know, could be supported with,
Could be on a well.
could be on a
Public
well,
supply.
yeah.
Mr. Chairman, if I might speak to that matter, this is Jeff Walsh from Graves Engineering. With respect to water supply, the plans show that the fire protection is going to be served by the Hopedale water system.
Yeah.
The potable water is going to be derived from on-site public water supply wells.
Yeah.
And to wastewater disposal will be by way of on-site septic. So if land development were going to occur for residential purposes under the same scenario, I can only assume that it would be on-site potable water and on-site wastewater disposal. But of course, the demands for residential can quickly outweigh the demands for water use and wastewater disposal on a commercial project such as this. So my speculation would be that a 40B affordable housing project might be limited in size by the water supply and wastewater disposal if it's again, on-site water supply and on-site wastewater disposal.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions? So Liz Edlevis, what's your homework for this?
Quite a bit.
Yeah.
No, I took notes on all the follow-up items
Yeah,
that we'll
I got 'em
provide
here too, so.
at the next meeting, and then hopefully by the next meeting, we'll also be in a position to discuss both traffic and acoustics peer reviews and our responses there
So we're
too.
talking January 23rd, right?
Hopefully, yes. Yep, that's the next meeting, correct?
So, Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to continue to January 23rd, 7 o'clock.
Why don't we have them maybe to 6 earlier?
Yeah, actually, there was a discussion, we might as well have it right now. There's been a request to change the meeting time to 6 PM instead of 7. Does anybody take issue?
I have a meeting at 6 o'clock that night. Just the fourth Mondays, I have meetings at 6, that's why I'm late. I can do them early in the month, I can't do them later in the month. I can come in
Meetings
late.
don't have to be on Monday. Do they?
Well, I'm just wondering whether we change you'd have to get clearance on the rooms available. But that,
As long as we make sure that we have 4 members.
instead,
If Barry doesn't late.
yeah, instead of doing them the second and fourth, you can do them the first and third Monday of the month.
I'll have to check when the select
That work for
board.
Darius? Yeah, do them the 1st and 3rd.
And I really think,
I think we used to do
to the
them.
extent of this issue being so serious and large,
We need
you
5.
want 5.
We need 5, yeah.
All right, so I'll check on.
Oh, jeepers. We just keep running into, you know what, we're gonna skip a meeting. He has a medical procedures being done, and I really want all of us here, during these. So we will skip, the public hearings for the next meeting, and we'll move them off
To
till,
the first Monday.
first Monday of February.
That'll be February 6th.
February 6th. You okay with that?
Yes, we can make that work.
Is it
All right,
gonna
I
be
need a
6
motion,
o'clock?
please.
Motion continue to February 6th.
6 PM. 6 PM.
He seconded.
Seconded?
Second.
All those in favor?
Alright.
All right, that matter's disposed of for tonight.
So just
Dan.
for clarification, your intent is to switch to the first,
First and third Mondays.
okay, just because we have another meeting that we can work around it.
Okay. Thank you, Dan. All right,
Thank you.
on to the next order of business.
Just a second.
147 Hartford.
What's that?
147 Hartford.
Next.
The next order of business is for 147 Hartford Avenue East. Public, continuation of public hearing.
I have to clear the room first, Mr. Chairman.
You're gonna have to wait, Bill.
Gotta clear the room first.
Yeah. I think we already did.
There'll be some
That
conversations
has
going
many
on back.
meetings.
Yeah. There's a,
Right there.
Oh,
I should have had it already.
you're,
Want the block?
Hey, you guys, take any conversation outside, please.
Guess they don't hear you.
All right. 147 Hartford Avenue East. Continuation. Let's open the public hearing. Or continue the public hearing?
Motion to continue the public hearing to 147 Hartford Avenue East.
All right. What do we have? Where'd we leave off?
I can help, Mr. Chair.
Yes, please.
We had 2 peer reviews, one for traffic and one for civil. Jeff has issued his. MDM issued their letter for traffic. The applicant then responded to Jeff's, and he has counter-responded, and I think he's going to tell you that they got a clean bill of health from him, and we're still waiting for the response on traffic.
So where's that leave us? Nothing to discuss, or?
No,
What do we
I
have?
think Jeff always has stuff to discuss.
Well, evening, Dale McKinnon from Gary and Holland. I have not been involved with this project previous tonight, but someone's...
What help are you gonna be?
Someone... One Bob is retired, the other Bob is in Florida, and you're left with me, so that's all I can tell you. What's recently happened is the traffic report has come in. I don't know if we want to get Jeff to say that he concurs with what Jack has said. I believe that's true in what Jack said. Jeff, do you want to?
What Dale said and what Jack said, Mr. Chairman, I issued a follow-up review letter on the 6th, whatever day that was, Friday, I believe it was. There was a small number of issues in our first peer review letter, and yes, they've been satisfactorily addressed. From a civil perspective, I don't have any issues with the plans.
Okay. Traffic.
Traffic, we called the traffic person, and he wasn't able to attend this evening, but he gave me an email. I'd like to read it to the board.
Please.
This office only prepared a traffic impact analysis based on trip generation for adding a drive-through window to the previously approved gasoline filling station approved for 4,000 square feet convenience store with 4 fueling pumps at the subject site. Our office's design permitted over several dozen of gasoline filling station convenience stores with drive-throughs in the past years. All traffic studies prepared for gasoline filling stations supported the ITE Institute of Transportation Engineers traffic generation data that the gasoline filling stations are not traffic designations. They draw most of their traffic from the existing bypass traffic on the adjacent streets. Recent permitting from local planning boards around the town of Mendon did accept this approach and found that traffic impact analysis was acceptable to address traffic trip preparation. So what's being said by Hal, who is the traffic engineer, is that...
We understand
it. All right, so the report, though, goes like it was reviewing 23 Cape and not 147. It goes to a level of extent that's much greater than he feels is necessary for this type of property, and feels that his traffic is responded appropriately. And I'm trying to ask is, do we have to go to the need of everything that's being asked for by this traffic study, which is,
Well, I'd like to see if
to the nth degree is what I'm trying to tell you.
If he's done a traffic study for towns surrounding us that...
Right.
Bill, Jack's got something to say.
No, go ahead, Bill. I want to finish though, when you're done.
Yeah, that
Need to
he
do-
has a report that indicates someone supported that theory. I'd like to see it before I just say, that's okay.
I'm not asking for you to do that. I just wanted to represent what his feelings are.
And I don't disagree. I mean,
Right.
I think most times when we've been dealing with this, that has been the case. It doesn't add additional traffic. very few people get in their car to drive to the gas station.
Right.
Most of them are going by and stop. And if they do make that trip to the gas station, it's not during a heavy traffic period. It's usually off hour. So I don't disagree, but the bylaw is the bylaw. And the bylaw requests that certain things get done. And I don't want to stop venturing from the bylaw just to satisfy an applicant,
Granted, sir. What I'm trying to ask, though, is...
But I'll let Jack speak to it.
Okay, let's listen to Jack.
With due respect to your traffic engineer, he's kind of picking and choosing here. First, he says that he only did the drive-through. Well, you got to count the whole gas station, not from 11 years ago. So, with all due respect, and
I think it needs to be a thorough traffic
our
study, especially
traffic-
with the impact to that corner
Right, and
now.
the impact to that corner, we just heard what they have to deal with. Well, you're joining in on this, you and your client.
And
if I may, the place across the street has to be lined up so that we don't have left turns into left turns all over the place. You may not be generating more traffic, but you're introducing more congestion.
Yeah, that's basically my concern, because we've been through this before, the first time that you came before us. And then, of course, when the gas station was introduced up at the corner of Millville Road and, the one in Millville Road, we did a traffic study at that time, and also there was already a gas station there. Ultimately, it wasn't as busy as the new one, but it's and it's a good example, the Imperial Gas currently, because of the effects of how much volume that station produces. And to be honest with you, with proper traffic control, it probably wouldn't be a very big deal at all. We obviously, currently right now, I know as a planner, we have a huge issue on Route 16 with traffic control. And unfortunately, it isn't a town of Mendon issue. It's a state of Massachusetts issue. Because once again, Route 16 is a state road. I've been told, I've been involved with the state regarding Route 16 and the changes that are coming, and unfortunately, the state just did their changes down on 140, and while slightly better, I'm not totally convinced that you may have issues, people try and take a left-hand turn out of that gas station. We need to see the impacts of what that's gonna be, because at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, we both know that's gonna be a problem. And maybe we make no left turn out of your station. I'm not sure what the answer is, but that's why we do a traffic study.
I hear you, sir.
Okay, I wasn't trying to act like I was arbitrarily doing this. It's just, my job is to represent the town of Mendon. And I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't ask for that traffic study.
And just so you know, we received that letter on Friday.
Yeah.
So, with all the time spent, their response to us came in the last minute. That's why.
That's all right.
We
we
didn't
understand.
expect
And we're
that.
not trying to be unbearable in this. We try not to be. But, Jack asked me, talked to me today about it, and I said, no, we need a study in that area. Like this, there's so many things going on, just bad timing for you, I think, more than anything. You got Hopedale adding what they're doing, us looking at situations, and now all of a sudden you're just trying to stick a gas station, which is probably a great idea because all those cars are going to need gas.
Dale, could you make sure I get that email
Sure.
so it's in the record?
I'll hand this to you.
Yeah, actually.
Give it to Gail.
All right. Put it in the file.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to just take a moment to comment on the traffic part of it. When I hear as a civil engineer traffic studies, I think of trip generation and intersection delays and so on and so forth. But to Jack's point, the peer review did include a lot of talk about turning maneuvers in and out, the potential of limiting which turning maneuvers can occur, and even, I think, on-site request for circulation and the turning templates and so forth. The point is, yeah, we might call it under the umbrella of traffic, a traffic report, but nevertheless, in my opinion, yeah, I don't expect that trip generations are gonna make a big difference, and they certainly won't, because this type of use is mostly passed by. But nevertheless, those minor details, those more minor things that we think are minor things, really are the major things for this type of project. The turning maneuvers, the potential, pedestrians crossing the street too were mentioned in the report. So I think it's prudent to continue on the path of peer review and
Yeah, I
back
think
and
so.
forth. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you see with just the Dunkin' Donuts there, how you're not allowed to take a left turn into Dunkin' Donuts. You have to go around the other way. People, break that all the time, but I mean, ultimately, that was what the design was. You can't take a left into Dunkin' Donuts. And that may be some of what we need to consider based on the peer review of the traffic report.
When is your next, when would we go?
Well, you have the public too, Bill. I don't see anybody.
No. We would, it'd be the same point in time would be,
The 6th,
the 6th of February.
at 6.
So if you have an answer to the peer review at that time,
We do have a question.
yeah, 1 second.
Two.
At that time, we'll ask you to, respond to that and be ready for that meeting.
So that's your next meeting?
February, well, when we have a full board, is February 6th. Jimmy's got a medical test at the next meeting, so I don't want to have public hearings without a full board. It's all his fault. Or we do it the next meeting for you, Harry. Yes.
Boy, you got off the hook, Barry.
Debbie, 36 Gate Street.
Oh, no, him.
You're asking, sorry.
Good evening,
I
Derek.
had to give it to somebody new, Deb.
Derek Kurz, 153 Hartford Ave East. 2 points. I'd like to thank you for bringing up the point of not only drive-by traffic, but pit stop, get gas, get a sandwich, get a drink, 1 car, 2 car, 3 car, 4 cars, however many cars. Now, 2 are leaving at the same time, 3 are leaving at the same time, merging into traffic, eastbound to go to the 495, or westbound, making a left turn. I've seen plenty of accidents in front of my house, people trying to turn left into Caroline's or to that strip mall plaza or to the businesses along Charles View. One driver going westbound says, yeah, go ahead, but then there's another car sneaking by them, a crash occurs. Anyway, there's a known traffic problem there. So I thank you for mentioning that, and I hope that will be a detailed portion of the traffic review, what that accumulation of exiting traffic from the proposed gas station property will cause to the traffic flow, especially during peak hours of morning commute and evening commute coming back into town. Second question regarding notification. I spoke with my neighbor at 151 Hartford Avenue East, who says she was not notified by the applicant or the town, and asking if there's a way to see who has responded or who has.
She has all the
Who
cards.
has been notified but maybe chose not to come. She said she was not notified and has no notice or no.
We have the cards here, so.
Okay.
151.
Okay, some of them did not respond.
And to confirm the name.
151 Hartford Avenue,
was
return to
returned.
sender, unclaimed.
What was the name on the address? If I may.
Hartford Avenue
151
Realty
Hartford Ave.
LLC.
Oh, it's a company name? It's a residence?
That is the mailing address for that property, I can tell you.
Okay.
That comes from the assessor's office.
Yeah, we take the assessment.
Okay, 151 LLC. All right, I have information to pass along. Thank you.
Probably a trust.
Is she the owner of the property or a renter?
I believe she's the owner, but
Okay.
I don't know for fact.
If she happened to not be the owner, was in a trust or somebody, it would have gone to the trustee of the property.
Okay.
You know, when when stuff comes out for my building on the corner of Washington, it comes to Emerald Development LLC. It doesn't come to anyone named. It comes to the LLC, but I'm the property owner, so.
Understood, thank you.
Hi there, Debbie, 36 Beach Street. Is this for the proposed right across from the liquor store?
The
The
liquor
four-way
store.
right there, right across from?
Right across from the road to Caroline's there.
Caroline's, that's the name.
The intersection, right? Down across from Dunkin's? What are you putting down there?
The gas station.
What are we putting?
Okay, across from Dunkin's down.
We aren't
What-
putting anything.
What property is it on?
There's a bunch of, there was a couple of homes there.
They got knocked down.
Amazon.
Yes, so it's the empty lot that I'm...
Three properties, 147, 149, 163.
It was approved for a gas station a few years ago.
It's been approved for a gas station, then it was changed to a multi-housing unit or, yeah. Then it's back to a gas station now, so.
Yeah, we could only get 58 in there.
Yes.
One final question. Back, I believe, 2011 or 2012, when the convenience store was first approved, at that time, no drive-through was allowed in the town of Mendon?
Yeah, that's been changed.
And that has been changed? That's what
Yeah.
I wanted to confirm.
Yeah.
Now it's allowed by special permit, it's one of the reasons we're here.
By special permit. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? All right, so
I make a
we'll look.
motion to continue this to February 6th.
We already did.
You already did.
Did you? No, we didn't.
This one?
No.
Son of a gun. This one, James.
I'll make a motion to continue to February 6th.
6 p.m.
What is it? 6 p.m.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Consider the matter concluded for today.
Any chance of putting this before...
Wait.
We should do 6 AM.
Oh, this is Willowbrook?
No,
No?
no, we got,
This is CMRPC.
well, no, hold on one second.
Oh,
I just wanted to announce the fact that we need to,
yes.
continue the public hearing for 3530 Hastings and to, do we have the letter, the email that I can read into the record?
Yep.
Yes, you do.
Continuing it to the,
Your folder.
If you want to read it.
I could, yeah. I'd like to read in the record. It's from John Nanat of Hastings Street Corporation. Please see the attached request for continuation of public hearing for 3537 and 18 and 20 Washington Street. So the ORAD issued a conservation commission on 8/11 was appealed by DEP by Director Butter. A site walk with DEP took place at 2 p.m. on November 8th. DEP will be issuing a superseding order of resource area delineation, which we do not which has not been issued. Due to the chance that SORAD may cause changes to the plans, we ask that the meetings be continued to such time we receive the SORAD from DEP.
Well, it's gonna have to be the 6th.
Yeah, well, we'll continue to the 6th and we'll further continue from there. Yeah, here you go.
Make a motion to continue meeting for 35 and 37 Hastings Street to February 6th, 6 p.m.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so
Okay, two
we'll
other
put that matter
items.
to order, and we got two more items. Release of bonds request from Willowbrook Lane.
I'll be abstaining from this.
Yes.
Yep.
Has everything been?
Jeff, everything done there?
Oh, yeah.
It's
Yes.
accepted.
Yes,
Road's
we
accepted.
reviewed the as-built plan, and I had visited the site with the highway surveyor back in April of this year, last year.
And town meeting accepted the road, and you approved it.
Yes, that's true, we did, didn't we? So, I would say that makes a request for, release of the bond a non-matter.
Do we need a motion for that?
Yes, we do.
Yes,
Need
you
to
do.
make a motion to release the bond for Willowbrook Lane, Nipmuc estates to be released.
Second.
I just want to make one comment on this project. It took me 8 years to get this thing completed, but we finally did it.
Congratulations, Bill.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Abstain.
And Mr.
Okay,
Chairman, my involvement in the latter part of this project with the developer, the wheels of progress turned slowly, but the quality of the work was very, very good.
He is
That's a very good job.
duly noted that he does a tremendous job, and that project just fell on when hard times hit,
Yeah.
and he just fell behind on it. But true to his word, he said he would get it done.
I've been there 17 years and I never had a problem getting in and out with the winters,
No, let
snowplowing
me-
or anything else.
And let me tell you what, a lot of developers would have walked away, and he just hung in there until he finished.
Good for him.
You know, it's a tribute to him. So, last order of business.
CMRPC.
Who wants to be appointed to CMRPC?
Who's not here?
Damon!
No show gets it, baby.
I'm already doing 2 meetings a month on top of these 2
All right,
meetings a month. That's
just
4 meetings a
take a
month.
vote and make me the appointment again.
Okay.
I appoint Bill to CMRPC.
Second.
I said, the third.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Motion to adjourn.
Hallelujah.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. All right, good night.